Hard conversations threaten comfort and identity. The clearest version is when a partner delays saying they feel ignored. The brain predicts conflict before the first word is spoken. Silence can feel safer than honesty even when the issue is growing. That mechanism explains why the topic affects real choices and why people avoid hard conversations. The clue to watch is whether the brain predicts conflict before the first word is spoken. Before silence can feel safer than honesty even when the issue is growing. Avoidance gives immediate relief. In Why People Avoid Hard Conversations, someone may notice that an employee closes an email draft instead of asking about unfair workload. Not speaking removes the anxiety for the moment. The problem remains and often returns with more pressure. Seeing the cause early gives people more room to respond well. In Why People Avoid Hard Conversations, the most useful question is whether not speaking removes the anxiety for the moment is being treated seriously enough. People fear the other person's reaction. Watch what happens when a friend imagines anger, tears, or rejection before raising a concern. Anticipated emotion can feel as real as the actual event. The imagined conversation becomes scarier than the real one might be. In Why People Avoid Hard Conversations, the visible event can distract from the driver that needs attention. The detail is small only until the imagined conversation becomes scarier than the real one might be. Starts affecting the decision. Many people confuse honesty with aggression. Why People Avoid Hard Conversations becomes concrete when someone avoids giving feedback because they do not want to seem harsh. Direct language is mistaken for cruelty when no model of kind honesty exists. Important truth then arrives late or explosively. When Why People Avoid Hard Conversations appears in real life, this is the detail to check first. The response improves when direct language is mistaken for cruelty. When no model of kind honesty exists is named before anyone argues about blame. Childhood patterns can shape avoidance. For example, a person who grew up around shouting learns to stay quiet. The body remembers that disagreement once meant danger. Adult conversations can trigger old protective habits. In Why People Avoid Hard Conversations, this is the point where the visible choice and the real pressure start to meet. The clue to watch is whether the body remembers that disagreement once meant danger. Before adult conversations can trigger old protective habits. Unclear goals make conversations harder. In real life, a manager starts a talk without knowing whether they want apology, change, or understanding. Confusion turns the conversation into a wandering argument. Clarity before speaking reduces defensiveness. That is why People Avoid Hard Conversations should be read through facts rather than a quick assumption. The most useful question is whether confusion turns the conversation into a wandering argument is being treated seriously enough. Timing changes the outcome. Think about how bringing up money stress during a rushed morning creates extra friction. The nervous system needs enough space to listen. Bad timing can make a valid point feel like an attack. For Why People Avoid Hard Conversations, the important move is to notice the chain from first signal to final effect. The detail is small only until bad timing can make a valid point feel like an attack starts affecting the decision. People avoid because they fear losing the relationship. A simple Why People Avoid Hard Conversations case is this. A sibling says nothing about resentment because family peace feels fragile. Belonging can seem dependent on silence. The relationship may become less real when difficult truth is never allowed. That sequence explains why people avoid hard conversations can grow even when the first moment looks small. The response improves when belonging can seem dependent on silence is named before anyone argues about blame. Resentment grows in the silence. Why people avoid hard conversations appears when a roommate keeps cleaning alone and quietly builds anger. Unspoken expectation becomes evidence that the other person does not care. The later conversation carries months of stored emotion. The early sign matters in why people avoid hard conversations because it can change cost, trust, timing, or emotional meaning. The clue to watch is whether unspoken expectation becomes evidence that the other person does not care before the later conversation carries months of stored emotion. Hard talks need specific examples. One ordinary why people avoid hard conversations version is that saying "you never respect me" creates a fight about character. Specific moments let the other person understand the pattern. Concrete details make repair more possible. The pattern in why people avoid hard conversations is easier to handle when the first signal is noticed instead of dismissed. The most useful question is whether specific moments let the other person understand the pattern is being treated seriously enough. Tone matters because the body listens first. Consider the moment when a calm sentence can be heard differently from the same sentence delivered with contempt. People react to threat before they process logic. A softer start can protect the message. The answer in why people avoid hard conversations is usually found in the cause, not in the label people attach afterward. The detail is small only until a softer start can protect the message starts affecting the decision. Avoidance can look like kindness. Why people avoid hard conversations becomes clearer when someone says it is not a big deal while feeling hurt. Protecting the other person from discomfort can become dishonest. Real kindness includes giving someone a chance to respond. Once the cause is named in why people avoid hard conversations, the response can fit the situation more closely. The response improves when protecting the other person from discomfort can become dishonest is named before anyone argues about blame. Some conversations need boundaries. In why people avoid hard conversations, notice when a person can explain a limit without debating it for hours. Not every hard talk is a negotiation. Clarity is sometimes more respectful than endless persuasion. The link between those pieces is what makes why people avoid hard conversations useful in real life. The clue to watch is whether not every hard talk is a negotiation before clarity is sometimes more respectful than endless persuasion. Preparing helps, but scripting can hurt. A familiar why people avoid hard conversations example is when rehearsing every line may make someone sound robotic or prosecutorial. A conversation needs direction and flexibility. Over-control can block actual listening. People often feel pressure around why people avoid hard conversations before they can explain where it came from. The most useful question is whether a conversation needs direction and flexibility is being treated seriously enough. Listening is part of courage. In why people avoid hard conversations, the real-world version may be that a spouse raises a concern and also asks what the other person experienced. Hard conversations are not speeches delivered at someone. Mutual understanding lowers the need to win. This is the detail that changes what to check next in why people avoid hard conversations. The detail is small only until mutual understanding lowers the need to win starts affecting the decision. Repair is usually smaller than people imagine. It shows up in small moments, such as when a clear apology, a changed habit, and one follow-up can shift the relationship. People often fear a dramatic confrontation when the need is simple accountability. Delay makes repair look bigger than it is. Noticing that driver early can keep why people avoid hard conversations from becoming harder to manage. The response improves when people often fear a dramatic confrontation when the need is simple accountability is named before anyone argues about blame. Not every reaction proves the talk was wrong. Look at a case where someone may become defensive at first and understand later. People need time to metabolize difficult information. A poor first response does not always mean honesty failed. The headline alone does not show the whole chain behind why people avoid hard conversations. The clue to watch is whether people need time to metabolize difficult information before a poor first response does not always mean honesty failed. Avoiding every hard conversation trains fear. A concrete version is when each delay teaches the brain that speaking is dangerous. Practice makes discomfort more tolerable. The skill grows through small, honest moments. The background force should guide the next decision in why people avoid hard conversations more than the first reaction. The most useful question is whether practice makes discomfort more tolerable as being treated seriously enough. The best opening is often plain. In a normal day, I want to talk about something uncomfortable because I care about this relationship. Simple language reduces performance pressure. The goal becomes connection and clarity rather than a perfect speech. In Why People Avoid Hard Conversations, the clearer reading follows the cause instead of stopping at the visible result. The detail is small only until the goal becomes connection and clarity rather than a perfect speech starts affecting the decision. People avoid hard conversations because they are protecting something. Picture the situation where peace, pride, belonging, safety, or control may be at stake. The cost is that silence can turn fixable problems into permanent distance. A clear conversation is uncomfortable, but it gives reality a chance to improve. The moment becomes easier to handle when the moving part is named clearly in Why People Avoid Hard Conversations. The response improves when the cost is that silence can turn fixable problems into permanent distance is named before anyone argues about blame.